All right. We're just waiting on Anne, so we could give that another minute here before we officially come to order. Get our last snacks together.
Jeremy, can I ask if the person with the phone number is one of the um, school committee members?
That's a good question that I don't know. Can 413 413 I can't even read tonight.
I mean, if it's
413
if it's yeah, if it's not
yeah,
Katrina,
if
it
you're
doesn't
not
really
just
matter.
yeah, I don't know that it is. If you are if the phone number is a school committee member, if they could just let us know, that would be great. I think we have everybody else here, right? Anna's here, Katrina's here, Nate's here, and Leah's here. So no, that would not be a school committee member. Okay, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Shutesbury School Committee to order at 7:02. Um, see, we have a pretty full virtual room, so I'd like to start off by oh, Katrina wasn't here. Whoops. I'd like to start off with public comment. Generally, if anyone from the public comments, I think uh, we start the meeting with that. So if anybody who's here from the public that would like to comment, if you could just raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you and speak. All right, Viva, go ahead.
Yeah, I see a hand up.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, now I'm lowering my hand.
All right.
Clicking that lowering hand button. Hi, I'm Viva Butler. I'm a paraeducator at SES and co-president of the Shutesbury Education Association. And I'm just going to read a brief statement on behalf of the majority of our members. First off, we'd like to express our gratitude to the Shutesbury community and Shutesbury School Committee for recognizing the value of education and prioritizing funding our elementary schools so students can thrive and grow. We deeply appreciate the work that goes into developing and managing the Union 28 budget, and we recognize that these decisions are neither simple nor made lightly. At the same time, we'd like to share some thoughts from our membership. As a small school community, we believe it's important to prioritize resources in ways that most directly support the needs of our students in classrooms. We hope to see continued emphasis on sustaining and strengthening supports that have the most immediate impact on student learning. As our community is aware, Shutesbury has received accolades for the high achievement of our students. Specifically, we've been awarded special recognition from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for our 2023-24 MCAS scores and accountability ratings, which met or exceeded all targets in both achievement and growth for our student performance outcomes. In addition, this past September, we received an additional certificate of recognition for raising our math MCAS scores to pre-pandemic levels, an achievement few schools in the state accomplished. These are acknowledgments our community should rightfully be proud of. Despite these tangible successes, we've noticed that the level of curriculum oversight and data collection has grown significantly in the past year. While we understand the intention behind gathering data to inform instruction, the current level of oversight can sometimes impede our ability to focus on the valuable time spent directly supporting student learning. We would welcome a thoughtful review of how these processes can best support both instructional effectiveness and the daily realities of a small school. Additionally, we want to highlight the dedication of our school-based staff, specifically our paraprofessionals. Over the years, the increases in compensation for support staff have been considerably smaller than those at some Union 28 administrative levels. The teachers, paraeducators, and staff working with students every day are truly the heart of Shutesbury Elementary School, and investing in them is essential to maintaining the strength of our school community. We respectfully encourage the school committee to examine these budgetary priorities and consider ways to ensure that resources are balanced in a way that reflects the needs of our small school. We would also welcome opportunities for continued collaboration and communication so that a range of perspectives can help inform these important decisions. We recognize that the budget conversation involves many stakeholders, and we appreciate the opportunity to share our perspective as you consider the upcoming budget. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
Thank you very much, Viva. Can I ask as well that you could, if it's all right with you, could you please forward that statement to us as well so that we can have that read over? Thank you. Are there other?
Jeremy, I think you're on mute.
So I was just going to ask if there's anybody else that wants to make a public comment. My first time running a meeting. Okay. So if I do not see anyone else raising their hand, we will move on. I do want to say, Viva, thank you for that statement, and thank you for thank you for all of the pieces. I think that generally, I think we're all on the same page with that, and I appreciate you bringing your concerns to us as well around the data and oversight and the budget funding. I appreciate that very much. I'm just gonna ask one more time if there is. Oh, hold on. There's a few more people that are just coming in, so let me give them a second as well. All right. So for those who are just joining us, we are still in a public comment period, and so I'm just asking that if anybody would like to make a comment, they could just raise their hand, and I will acknowledge you and allow you to speak. Okay. Seeing no hands raised, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is a review of the agenda and the perpetual calendar. The agenda was posted along with the meeting, so I'm hoping that people have seen that and have looked at that. As far as perpetual calendar goes, we are currently in March, so we are at the deadline. I don't know what the actual, Susie, do you know what the deadline for filing for election was?
The 21st. The nomination papers can be in on Saturday, the 21st. That's the latest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have till the 21st, so we're still time should folks want to run for school committee.
I believe we need, please, if you know anybody, encourage somebody to run.
Oh, so no one's filing papers?
I think I am the only one.
Okay. Good to know. All right.
Yep, that is good to know. So yeah, so we have till the 21st to file papers to run in the election with town meeting. We have the final review tonight for the upcoming budget. There was a newsletter put together. I missed the deadline to write a quick newsletter, and I'm sorry for that, but there is our town. It's not our town, but there is a newsletter being put together this year. School council, it says here, is working on surveys, and I don't know if that's something that is still occurring or something that we should keep on the perpetual calendar.
Working on school surveys like the DESE school survey?
No, this is like school council.
Oh,
I don't know.
school council. The school council survey? We can keep that on there. We could visit that.
All right. In terms of Amherst Regional, Anna will fill us in on that later, but it's supposed to be around their final regional budget vote as well. And then in Union 28, we're still working on the superintendent evaluation. We were discussing that at our last meeting, and discussing the school year calendar in advance of a vote for that. Those are the things that are on the calendar. Moving on to our fourth agenda item, we've got warrants. And so what do we have for warrants this month?
All right, so I have 4 warrants. 2 accounts payable, 3019 from March 3rd for $44,637.84, and 3020 from March 17th for $1,566.82. 2 from payroll, number 318 from March 2nd for $91,366.22, and 319 from March 16th for $90,837. and 36 cents. I think there's been some more recent warrants, but that happened after I had put everything into the agenda. So you'll get those next month.
Thank you, Caitlin. All right, moving on. Approval of the minutes. We have the approval of the minutes from February 12th, 2026. We can get a movement and a second.
So moved.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Nate. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor? Mayu, aye.
Catalano, aye.
Heard I.
Jack, aye.
Longcoat aye.
All right.
Trevor, were you flagging something?
So there's one emendation that Anna brought to my attention for approving the school improvement plan. Should that be fiscal year 2026, 2027, or should it be academic year 2026, 2027?
Academic year.
And it's
Okay,
longer
so-
than 27.
Well, it has to be reviewed every year, so it can be
Oh.
a multi-year document, but it has to be reviewed every year. But it goes by academic year, Trevor.
Okay, thank you.
What's the difference between fiscal year and academic year?
July 1 to June 30th is the fiscal year, and the school year is the, August, September-ish until the end of June.
Okay, so the school year is just the 9 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we had a unanimous vote. There's an amendment on that just for clarification. Good. So moving on to unfinished business and updates are always popular capital projects and building process. Nate, do you want to update us on that?
Okay, sure thing. I see that we have Frank McGinn here. So that's fantastic. He can help out in a lot of this capital projects and building stuff that's going on. I've been super busy. Yesterday I had a capital planning meeting and then FinCom that went pretty late. And I don't know if Frank wants to start. We could talk about the oil tank as one of the issues. I could talk about the items that I put forth in that process and what's moving on towards warrants. I don't know, Frank, if you have a time constraint, if you'd like to chime in.
I don't know how long of a explanation you want me to give of the oil spill.
I think it'd probably be good little synopsis. I think we talked today, so I think that would be helpful just to clue people in, and then we can move forward with what we're trying to do about it.
Okay, last week I got an email from Matt, the head custodian, that he was pumping out the vault tank where the pumps are, like he does every seasonal time, and there was a smell and pink liquid. From there, we determined there was oil in the tank and the vault. And I notified the town administrator, Haley, and Haley started a bunch of things in motion, talking to the Board of Health, the chief, Lenny, the fire chief, and we called the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. We also called Titan Bond, who handles our PFAS. And a lot of people got involved. And I called to change things up, Royal Steam heating company. And it's Royal Steam means it's been around a little bit. And the company that put in the new system at the new library, and people on my buildings committee were very impressed with them, and they hired them for 1 year management of that system. So I wanted to bring them in to see what they do, something different than the last guy. DEP came and said the oil was the ground was frozen, so the oil didn't penetrate too much, but it did go off into the drains and into the stream. We found out it got into the stream because the kids said there were rainbows in the stream. So the following day, Western Mass Environmental came with Titan Bond to pump out the tank. We had 39 gallons of oil and about 80 gallons of water in the vault tank where the two pumps are that pump the heating oil into the school to the day tank. It was an all-day project. They vacuumed everything out. They dug as much as they could out that day of the surface dirt, and they had to come back today to finish up. Royal Steam came back. This guy Phil did a wonderful job. He went down in the vault, took a picture of the leak. We were lucky the leak was on the tank side of an old pump, and it was just dripping. It wasn't gushing. And he went back in after they vacuumed it out and turned a valve off. And we're at a stage now where they'll have to give us a proposal on working on the leak in all that area. Titan Bomb thinks the area is where it should be for this small of a leak. And they installed booms, which are absorbent pads, these long 10-foot round white things. They put them in the vault where the pump is. They put them in the 2 drainage ditches in the basketball court area. And then they put 5 on the stream, all going way down every so many feet to absorb any water. That Friday, we did smell some oil in the stream, but it was residual probably from the culvert output. And the Titan Bomb, the scientists weren't that worried about it. Where we are now, there's some drums there that have to be picked up, and then they're going to go. They've got to do a proposal to pick the drums up and bring them someplace. The clocks started ticking last week, and I was informed from Sam from Titan Bomb that Mass DEP usually wants these things taken care of within 60 days. So Titan Bond has to come up with an alternative thing for us to work on there on site. We're lucky when they changed something years ago, they put 4 boreholes around the tank. So Mass DEP said that's a good thing. We might not have to drill, and we can test it in the groundwater to see if any oil leaked out of the vault. Hopefully it didn't, because that brings it to a whole nother level. So we're in phase 1 now, just waiting for DEP to give us some more answers on which direction we're going. And until they go that route, everything's up in the air, because we have to basically test the water around it and get, hopefully it'll be clean and we'll get a sign off. So that's where we are.
Thank you so much, Frank.
You want to add anything, Nate?
That was pretty great presentation. Thank you. This has been an ongoing thing. I think it was, what day was it? Tuesday of last week?
Tuesday,
Monday or Tuesday? Yep. Yeah, Tuesday of last week. That evening I had a capital planning meeting. They had tabled, I'd presented a parking lot proposal, and the capital planning tabled that. So Frank and Ann and I met that afternoon, and we kind of scrambled and came up with an idea of getting an engineering study and putting the parking lot back on the table, but a smaller engineering study to kind of get us to another level, keep this ball rolling. And this would give us a survey and a site map of the parking lot. And then we can take that and go with what the DEP has for the oil tank. We can look at those 2 forms or proposals, and we can come up with a plan, a longer term plan. I reached out to Berkshire Design Group that the next day and asked them to get me a proposal for how much it would cost to get this engineering study together. They came by, got in touch with me on Saturday, and they had a large proposal that came up with a $40,000 price tag. I had a few questions about the proposal, and I talked to Carlos on Monday, and we kind of went through the proposal and what we kind of were really looking for. And now, he came up with a second proposal by the end of the day of $15,800 to get this engineering study. And this is first phase, and the first phase would be a survey of the area for $7,800, and this would be like a every 10-foot kind of marker. It would do a very extensive survey of the whole parking lot area and driveway. It would also include some boreholes down to see what the substrate of the parking lot is, whether we need to go all the way down to ground level, or if we can just kind of mill that first layer and put asphalt on top. And then the third would be the GPS and site mapping of the area. So that ticket price is $15,800. I presented that yesterday to capital planning, and that passed. So that's kind of like the first step, phase one of this kind of understanding. I was also able to meet with Scott Barlow. This is going to be a long process. This probably won't, this parking lot probably won't happen till 2028, 2029. So I met with Scott Barlow of Barlow Paving the other day, and we kind of looked at what we can do in the meantime to kind of deal with the frost heaves and the sidewalk and parking lot. And hopefully next week we'll get an idea of the price of that. We do have money set aside, about $24,000 set aside to deal with the sidewalk repair. Hopefully, I told them that we don't have a lot of money, and hopefully that will be affordable. The other two things on the capital plan that passed the capital planning, I think I emailed you after last meeting that I unfortunately missed, was the two snow blowers for $6,000. This is coming down from a $34,000 tractor that I worked with the capital planning and Matt Foster, the custodian, and we kind of dwindled it down, and we're able to realize that, he could probably get it done with two really nice, these are awesome snow blowers with cat treads, and he could get a lot of snow removed that way. And then the other one was the curtain, the mechanics to the divider in the gymnasium. And we had a quote for $15,000 to replace the mechanics. This was from, I think, 2022. And my Frank and his team, the buildings committee, are looking into alternatives to a mechanic. They've discovered a walk draw, which is kind of just a pull the curtain across. This price tag is $3,000 to $10,000, depending on what we do. So that could be a significant savings there. And Frank and his team are going to help with procurement of that. I don't know if you have anything you want to say about that, Frank, but I appreciate.
The only thing I forgot to mention, and it's important to mention, is the monies that are involved so far with the oil. I just want to back up a little. Titan Bond is going to be between $8,000 and $10,000 for their services, for their testings and everything else. Western Environmental is between $5,000 and $6,000. About $1,000 plus for the day, 2 days for Royal's team. $6,000 to $8,000 to do whatever they have to do in the hole. And the good news is we have insurance for it with a $10,000 deductible. So we're around $23,000. And so we'll have to come up with about $13,000 to $15,000 for the short term. But the oil leak was insured, and we don't have to go into your all's money. I think the money is going to come from town hall somehow. So I just want to let you all know that.
Appreciate that, Frank.
Thank
The other thing, sorry, Jeremy.
No, go ahead.
Caitlin shared with me today an Excel spreadsheet for future capital planning projects going out to 2045 or something. It's super helpful. Capital planning committee is looking for that kind of projection. So it's that list has stuff from the cafeteria, from the kitchen needs, and I plugged in the numbers that I knew. The projected costs of the parking lot I put in. So we have 15,800 this year. That'll be, I forget the exact number, but it's like a 20, for the remaining tasks of that that $40,000 study. That's going to be $22,000 maybe next year, and then maybe we can push that forward. The price tag I put for projected 2029, 2028 cost for the parking lot, if we just can mill and pave, that's he said it's about $300,000. If we have to go down to ground level and do some excavating, that could be anywhere to up to $500,000. That's significantly less than the 1.2 million like sticker shock that I had from when we first talked. So that was a relief, but still a significant cost. So thank you, Caitlin, for putting that together.
Thank you, Nate, for all of that legwork, and it's crazy. Anna, you have a question.
So you were talking a little bit about all of the survey work that's going to be done related to the parking lot, and I was just wondering if any of that could be expanded to do a tiny bit of work on identifying whether the school grounds is a suitable location for geothermal.
I think that's kind of the idea. I think
yes,
that's part
Okay.
of this whole larger plan. If we can get this survey done, then we can actually look at the area. So that's the
Excellent.
thing. It's part of this whole structure to figure out what's the next steps. It's obvious. I mean, I think the goal of this town is to get off fossil fuels. So that's a goal. This oil tank leak is problematic. So it's all kind of playing into each other. And again, this investment is the first step in kind of solving this riddle, this puzzle. There's a 30,000 gallon water suppression tank. I've talked to Carlos about drainage, about runoff. Part of the plan will be to try to funnel some of that rain runoff into a holding tank to help supplement the fire suppression system. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It's pretty crazy, and it's I just appreciate town hall folks at town hall, Frank, all these people. We're trying to communicate, trying to get this figured out. Michael DeCara of the ECAC, we're trying to communicating with him. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people involved. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Frank?
I just wanted to add
about
the thermal. The buildings committee this select board asked the buildings committee to do energy studies, and we've been doing that with Eversource. And Michael DeCary is doing the ECAC on that. And Jeff Quackenbush has already looked into an engineering study for the geothermal, and it's about $50,000 just for that, to do everything. So we had a lot on our plate on my meeting on Wednesday to talk about, if we have to replace the tank, it's another 48,000, but of engineering studies. So that's where it's juggling right now, and we don't know where. It's all the crystal ball, what DEP makes us do, and hopefully nothing much, and then we can go forward with that. And we're meeting with Energy Source on Monday to have a conversation about a game plan, because there's some funding money out there, and they've given us some updates for your building and other buildings. The buildings committee is going to go over that with Eversource, but the thermal is in the plans to do the survey or explore that. So I want to let you all know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank
And I
you.
forgot to add that the part of the survey is the ADA compliant. There's been some flags that came up. There's one spot near the cafeteria back entrance that the ramp goes up, and there's like a fire hydrant right there, so you can't really get a wheelchair around that. So yeah, there are definitely issues that we have to address sooner than later.
Okay. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Frank. Shannon, you had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank, Frank has been out there spending a lot of time. I ran into him this week. Anne has been out there for a lot of time, but I feel like Nate should be setting up camp there because it seems like, he jumped on being on, the capital subcommittee, and it's been a full-time
He is the
job for
capital.
him. Right. And between, the tank and then it's just been one thing after another, and he has spent a tremendous amount of time. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that we see how hard he's working.
Yes.
And it's like one rock turns over and there's another thing going. So we do appreciate it. And we know that this is uncharted territory for a small town. And it's been nice to see the collaboration, even though there's still a lot of moving parts. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Nate because I do appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I just
that.
want to say too that if you're looking to get together socially with Nate, he might actually invite you to come see the tank and have a talk around the tank. That might be your social engagement with Nate.
That's where I hang
thanks for
out
giving
now.
me the ride down there, Nate. That was nice. So yeah. So it sounds like, just to recap, it sounds like as of right now, DP is not super concerned, but we are going to have to do some more testing to make sure that nothing made it out of the vault. But the surface stuff that we were worried about last week has been taken care of. That's the long and the short of it, yes?
Yes.
For now? Okay. So, and Nate, I just wanted to say too, my only question was about the fire department holding tank, and it sounds like that's all part of it. Everyone's aware. I was going to ask when we had to bring them into the process as well. There's a lot of moving parts in this.
Yeah, they need this parking lot to move forward for them to kick in what they need to do. So that's part of this survey. We need to get the ball rolling for them to figure out where they're going to put this. Can they, if we take the tank out of the ground, can we put the holding tank for the water there? I don't know. These are things that we'll have to look at. And sometime we're gonna have a meeting with everybody, and everybody puts their input, and then we look at that, and we hopefully Carlos from Berkshire Design, that's hopefully what they're about. That's what they do, is they take a lot of people, a lot of input, they hear from a lot of different parties, they put that together, and then they come up and we figure out a design plan.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, if we were able to move forward towards geothermal, or like we talked about, I think last year, the idea of an external above ground tank, to get away from that, then, like the Arlo Guthrie song, I guess, like if you're going to dig a hole, you might as well put something else down in that hole. Why build two holes if you're going to be taking something out? So that might be a possibility too. Sounds like we have the right guy on the job. Thank you so much, Nate, for that. So the next agenda item is the 2026-2027 academic calendar. I am going to try to actually project this to you. I usually just sit back and watch while other people awkwardly do this. So let me see if I can make this happen. Sorry, folks. Of course, this happens when we have the most people in the meeting. Oh, there we go. I found it. So I don't know. Does anybody is there a calendar on anyone's screen right now? No.
Not yet.
No,
Not yet. Okay, I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
you're doing great.
Thank you. I like the positive reinforcement.
Keep your cool. It'll be good. This is what I tell myself every time I try to share a screen.
I'm just like, we had this moment, a little aside, we had this moment where it looked like, according to the newspaper, it looked like the school that I work at might have to go to virtual briefly. And I was like ready to check myself into an insane asylum. Like, we're not doing that again. It's not happening. We got really good at this at one point, and then Since then, I've not gotten so great. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share that. And I guess I gotta make this go away. All right. So this is our Shutesbury Elementary School 2026-2027 calendar. All right. So it shows us, I believe, starting here on the 26th of August. Is that correct, Ann?
24th, I believe, right?
24th. Okay.
Staff begins. First day for students is the 26th.
Okay.
So yes, that's the first day for
That's
students.
Okay. So staff begins August 24th. First day of school for grades K through 6 is August 26th. The pre-K programs begin on August 31st, which would have us out of school. This is last day of school to be determined. Do we have a general idea of what that would be?
Yeah, it is
18th.
the 11th without snow days and the 18th, 21st, somewhere around the area if we include the 5 snow days we typically build into our calendar.
Yeah, I see that now. Thank you. All right, so that is the schedule, and we need to vote on this. So I guess if we could get a move and we could get a second, then we can have a little discussion on it if there's anything that people feel they need to discuss. So,
Can I ask a
Diana,
question
you sure can. Yes, 100%.
before we move?
Yes.
The October 16th workday.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if moving that to October 9th would be possible, or if there's a reason that it's on the 16th.
It's
Curriculum
aligned
day?
with our professional development,
Yes.
and it's aligned with when we can potentially get, I'm guessing you're thinking because it would make for a long weekend.
Yes.
It's hard to get, because it's going to be a long weekend, it's hard to get some professional development people to come in and present because they also like the long weekend. And so that was aligned with potential speakers and that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I move to approve the calendar.
I second.
Okay. Any other discussion around the calendar? All right, seeing none, let's take a vote. All in favor? My UI.
Illinois.
Heard I.
Jack, I.
Long Copai.
It is unanimous, and I will stop sharing now. That was scary for a minute. All right, so we're moving on. The next agenda item was the JICFB bullying prevention. And I think the idea was brought up by a few people, the idea of discussing how bullying is identified and how bullying is sort of dealt with at the school level. And I know, Anna, do you want to say any more from your side on the questions that have been brought up?
Yeah, so first of all, one question would be, has there been a bullying prevention and implementation plan developed, and has that been shared? I think it would be great if it could be posted or sent around to the school committee members so that we know what the bullying prevention and implementation plan is. And then secondly, it would be uh, interesting to know how many reports of bullying have been submitted to the administration and what their outcomes were. So I don't want any confidential information. I don't want names or grades or anything like that. I just want to know how many bullying reports have been submitted or received in Shutesbury, and what the outcome of those cases were, how fast it was resolved, um, that kind of information. And then just sort of like, has there been a change in the amount of reports year to year?
Sorry, I lost connection. Barry's having some issues with Wi-Fi tonight, but from the gist of what I heard, and I can clarify more. We haven't had any bully investigations, full bully, like the bully investigations. And I checked in with our school psychologist, and there wasn't for years that she's been there as well. So we do have a lot of conversations, and our bully prevention is included with our Choose Love. So our school is unique in that it has a social emotional special that meets every single week, and students get direct lessons from the Choose Love curriculum. And then as they get older, there's another curriculum that they tap into to really talk to kids about what is bullying, what's acceptable, what's being mean. And I know that our policy really gets into detail, but our school does a lot around choosing safety, respect, choosing responsibility, and choosing love. Also at our assemblies, we always start with that and talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like and feels like. I know that whenever there's an issue, we have a really robust team of support to help figure out what's going on, because a lot of times students might not tell us. They might go home and tell parents, and then we only have one side of the story. When we dive more deeply into it, it can all start from a misunderstanding, or somebody thought that something was funny. So I don't know if you remember the cheese touch. That was a big issue in the past, where people would say like, oh, I have the cheese touch, and touch people. And I guess if you cross your fingers, then you're inoculated from it. It's similar to the circle, 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 dot. I have the cootie shot. So just things like that. We want to make sure that we're really talking to kids about how that makes other people feel, and handling things like that, all the way to misunderstandings about what children have said about each other and what's acceptable and what's not. So we really believe in educating the students. Like if you think about how young they are and how much experience they have with working in groups of people, we really want to have those honest conversations in a safe environment where we can change and help students understand why something might be perceived as like a bullying type behavior, and stop it before it becomes, something. So we do encourage students to talk to us, and we encourage students to talk to their families and to let us know what's going on. So a lot of times I think the most nerve-wracking thing is things can be done really quietly and add up for students. So we want to make sure that we're getting to the bottom of that, because that can be as hurtful as a punch.
So you're saying that you haven't had any reports of these types of incidents at
No,
all?
no, not that have gone to the level of a bullying investigation. So I know Shannon, your hand is up. Did you want to speak to the policy on it?
No, you certainly can. I think we were going in the same direction, so feel free.
Sure. So in order for it to be bullying, it has to be a balance of an imbalance of power between the people that are being bullied. There has to be like a threatening type of a thing that's repeated. And luckily, anytime we've had a complaint of a student being mean to each other, we've been able to kind of build a plan, do like a safety plan for that student, have students have conversations. It's really student specific as to what's going on. So again, like we offer a bullying investigation if that's we kind of do the work around it to get to the bottom of any complaints that people have. But like I said, it's really about figuring out what the root cause of it and what's actually happening. And then we have our behavior matrix that goes through the rules of the school. And then we have different students needing different levels of exposure to it and practice with it. And we go from there. So it depends on what's going on for the individual students.
Anna, to your point about, I think, do we have students right? Kids are learning, just like they're learning to read, they're learning behavior. Students can behave badly and can be mean, but it may not meet the definition of a bullying incident.
Right.
And so they're still dealt with, right? And it's through, and I think Anne spoke a lot about the preventative measures, the relationship building that is happening to teach behavior just like we would teach an academic skill. But for it to meet the definition of bullying, it would have to be, as Anne said, an imbalance of power, repeated and targeted. So a student who behaves badly, let's say at lunch to everybody, is a student who is behaving badly. It's not a bullying incident because it's not necessarily targeted to an individual student or set of students. Does that make sense? So there's probably been lots of behavioral things that the staff and Anne have interceded with, but they wouldn't meet the requirements of bullying, which we would keep. That's a reportable thing that we keep for DESE, right? Anyone can be offered a bullying investigation, but the outcome of that, it may not have been a bullying incident if it didn't meet those 3 criteria, if that makes sense.
Okay. I've heard of at least 2 kids who have had what I would call a tough time this year. And I would describe their situation as being bullied. I don't know if it is one person doing the bullying, if it is multiple kids doing the bullying, but it is one kid or 2 separate incidences of kids feeling like they are the brunt of something. And I don't know if it rises to the level of the legal definition of bullying or if it is a I have a really low tolerance for bullying. And to say that it wasn't as big of a deal, it's not an imbalance of power because it's a peer.
Peers can have an imbalance of power. They certainly can have an imbalance of power. That's not what I'm meaning to suggest.
I think that when a kid is being mean to another kid repeatedly, that's bullying. That's all it needs. That's all it needs. It is some kid being mean to the same kid because it's that kid and they are targeting that kid and they've done it more than once.
Right? But that would be targeted. So
yes,
I think a student can be having a difficult time, and that would be something I would say, Anna, you should tell that parent to reach out to Anne because that's a school level problem and that's where it really has to be solved. And
yes, but I'm just saying, like, I was surprised that had not been reported. And so I don't know what the
Right. I don't know if we want to, I don't know if we can discuss it here, but
nope,
I mean,
I don't want
would be
to
happy
touch it. I don't want to talk about
if somebody wants to do have a bully investigation, then I absolutely reach out to me. That absolutely, because we would do that. I'm just trying to say that if it is that criteria that's reportable to the state, it doesn't mean that we don't handle incidents of children being mean as they're learning and growing. You know, it does happen. It happens, and it's not because a lot of times it is not malicious. It is just kids that don't understand yet. When I say this, it's not funny. I saw it on a TikTok. I saw it on a YouTube. It was so funny. Kids laugh. It's not funny. Really bringing that point home that we are not here to be awful to each other, and how it feels for another student isn't the same as how it feels for you. What can we do to make sure that we're not doing that sort of thing? And we have a lot of ears. We have a lot of adults. And as you know, like our paras and our staff are so dedicated, they're listening to the kids. So a lot of times it's like things that might have happened at a birthday party over the weekend, or it could be something that happened on the bus, places that we don't have as many ears on incidents that we really could be really concerning if students bring that in. But again, like Shannon said, I mean, just have that person reach out to me, because if a bully investigation needs to be done, we'll do it. So
do parents and students know what to do?
But I mean, we've directly taught that. We've directly talked about what to do. 6th grade students just took a survey about if they feel like people have been targeting or if people have been mean and people have been bullying. And we're going to use that data to help do like a discussion about that with the students and talking about really sussing out what is mean, what are we not accepting, what are those like quiet things that have been happening, and talk about it. But it's tricky too, because then when you bring it up and the whole group doesn't want to talk about it because they feel like they've already dealt with it. I mean, it's hard. And what the rules are when you're in pre-K are different from 6th grade. So you really want to make sure that children are at the very minimum being safe, respectful, responsible, and being accountable for what they're saying and what they're doing. So
Katrina has her hand up. Can I just ask again, so the 3 criteria for balance for bullying are an imbalance of power, right? Which doesn't have to be an age difference. It can be
among grades. Yeah, it definitely can be a same age student. That's not about older, younger kind of thing.
And it has to be threatening repeatedly. What was the third one?
It has to be targeted.
Targeted.
So it's not
targeted.
someone who misbehaves every day in the cafeteria to everyone because they don't know how to behave. Does that make sense?
Okay.
The
So like, is
bullying
it?
is that it's directed to
Yeah.
one or a particular group of students.
So I guess my question would be along the lines of like, if there's a student who, like you just described, Shannon, who's like all is known to struggle with behavior in lots of different places around the school, but they also are, they're if they are in a period of time where they're targeting one individual or kind of enticing other people to kind of gang up on that individual, like does that rise to the level of bullying, even though that student's kind of at loose ends, writ large?
So that would be a student, right, who's behaving badly, and it's a behavioral issue. And that doesn't mean that there's not consequences around a number of things, but it may not necessarily, it may be a behavioral infraction, but it may not meet the criteria of bullying. It may.
Even if they're
That would
even if
be
they're
the
kind of even if for a period of time they're targeting kind of a specific or a few specific
well,
individuals.
if they were targeting them repeatedly, then it would meet the
Okay.
benchmark. But if you have a student, right, who just like he's mean to everybody on the bus, that's
Mhm.
a student who it's a behavioral issue, and that would be something that the school would have to deal with. It may not meet the criteria of bullying though.
Yeah. I mean, I worry too. I deal with students at a higher grade level, but I think that my concern as an educator is that oftentimes reports get made, and the investigation happens, and what I hear as an educator is like, well, it kind of went both ways. This kid said, this is how that went down, and and I feel like sometimes that's used as a way to kind of avoid. And I'm not saying this is happening in Shutesbury necessarily, but I'm saying like that's used as a way to kind of avoid the kind of bullying, the documentation, or the bullying. And I hear students complain about this too, where it's like, this kid was doing this and targeting me and targeting me. I didn't feel safe about it, but then he said this, this, and this, and it came out as a sort of like, well, there was a little bit on either side, and like that's my concern is that like that students who feel targeted or feel like somebody is um, sort of organizing sort of targeted hazing or bullying of them, that is sort of honored and respected as well, and not, it doesn't get lost in the like kind of both sidism that I think sometimes can happen with kids when they're put on the spot about behavior, and
Sure.
they're feeling
So I
the shame
think
that they
that
avoid.
what you're mentioning would probably meet, I mean, there's a very in our policy, the steps of an investigation are outlined. So it's not an arbitrary tell me about this. I mean, it's down to a timeline around that. And I want to be cautious that the state has set forth a very clear definition of what they consider to be bullying. That doesn't mean it's absolving someone of poor behavior and the consequences that can and should go with that. Um, and sometimes it is both. But I think to Anne's point, she's not saying that there's been no behavioral reports at Shutesbury. What she's saying is none have met the criteria for bullying. Anyone can facilitate a request for a bullying investigation. It can be a staff person, it can be a student, it can be a parent. So certainly if a parent feels, my child's having a really hard time and boy, this feels like bullying to me, the appropriate step would be to reach out to Anne and have the conversation, and Anne could start a bullying investigation. And sometimes you have a bullying investigation that is found it's not to be it's not meeting the criteria of bullying, but there is going to be some consequence or safety. There's going to be something that comes out of it, because there's something that's amiss that's making that student feel uncomfortable. One student feel uncomfortable, and another might be behaving badly. So I want to clarify that not every misbehaving student falls under the category of a bully.
Katrina and then Nate.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify around two areas. One, I think I just got clarification. So even if it's not if it's not deemed to be a bullying situation, that doesn't mean that there's no intervention
Correct.
to help either student, right? Okay. And then And I just wanted to clarify, just to understand a little bit more of like your concern. Is this something where, you've heard of behavior that you feel would be bullying and you want to clarify the policy around this? Or is this a situation where the bullying was reported and an investigation was initiated and like it was not handled? Okay, so we're talking about like this hasn't been like
The system.
not addressed. It just hasn't been open to be addressed yet, right? Because those are sort of two different situations.
I would say it's more the former than the latter. It was definitely not a mishandled investigation. There's
Okay.
nothing like that. No, I would not say that. Nate?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like that disconnect between what Anna is saying about these two students and what we know about the Choose Love program and the work Jessica does, and it's just like, how is that happening? How are two students, feeling like they are subjected to this kind of mistreatment, and where, even if it's not like a bullying policy, like where are we going wrong, where are we falling short, that these two students, and those are just the ones we know about, like what can we do to kind of address this even without a bully policy, like, and it's hard to fathom, like, because I know how what the Choose Love program is and how beneficial it is. So I just wonder if there's other tactics we can do, like if there's other ways, like, you're bringing in TikTok, you're bringing in this new world of bullying and meanness, that it's just like, I don't know how to do.
I do have, one suggestion, which would just be that, like, and again, not, I'll bring my own experience into this instead of like, whatever. But like, I know that there have been times where I've been worried about, like, my student has reported things that he has been upset about, or he feels like he's being targeted. And I will say that initially on, I found it really hard. Like, I didn't know about, as a parent, I didn't know about the bullying plan process. Of course, I'm on the school committee, so I can like go into the policies and I can look into the things, right? But I didn't find it to be incredibly um, easy to kind of know or understand. It wasn't something I knew to start off with. And even when I started to try to figure out what, like, the school bullying, the plan was, like, I had access because I knew where to look. So I just wonder, maybe if, in one of the principal newsletters or something, if we could kind of maybe and do kind of a blurb about Choose Love and what that means to our school. And also just kind of, and parents, if you have concerns, that your child is facing bullying, or like that this is the way, that anyone could access this report, like that sort of thing, so that it's really clear to the school community that A, we take it seriously, right? Like we are very concerned about these sort of things, and B, this is the process. Because I don't know that that's that would be clear to all parents in the community. That might be one way of kind of
I think
going
sharing
about
about
it.
the Choose Love is a great idea, and that let parents know. And I think it's important for you as committee members to know when people, right, they live near, they're your neighbors and your friends, when they come to you, to refer them to the building, because we can't hash it out here at a school committee meeting.
Oh,
That
no,
has
this
to,
is, yeah, this is
yeah.
this is a
So, and I
more of
think,
a general piece,
yeah, but I love the idea about sharing about, because I think you're right. People may not know about the Choose Love curriculum, and to Nate's point, it's a great curriculum. It's a great, and I think to let parents know we devote time to this. We have skilled, you spoke about Jessica, we have skilled people delivering this curriculum because we believe in creating an inclusive environment where everybody feels welcome, and we're trying to be proactive in teaching that skill. I think, doing something like that will, remind parents that we're partners with them in this. And then if they have continuing concerns or want to learn more about the curriculum, that they should reach out to Anne, and she'll, depending on what their question is, put them in touch with the right people or meet with them, because we do want all children to feel safe and welcomed and in school, right? Because it's that whole Maslow theory, right? If you don't feel safe, you're not going to be performing your best in any spot. So we definitely want them to do that, but I love the suggestion about that. And then if you hear that, because you have a different relationship with them, certainly than Ann and I do as people who don't live in the community, encourage them to reach out to, a teacher or to the building so that we can make sure that we're creating and helping create an environment where all kids can thrive.
And if teachers notice a kid who's often the brunt of negative behavior, it's not just a let's correct this for the moment in the classroom, but if it's ongoing, that they should actually take it up a level and report it to the principal and make sure that it doesn't just stay between them and the teacher. I think that some teachers may not be aware of when it needs to be reported and when it needs to be addressed in the classroom, and a little review every once in a while is always helpful.
We do. We do it at the beginning of the year, and then typically, and right before April vacation is usually when kids start to forget their manners. But we are very clear. We actually directly teach the expectations. Amity, our school psychologist, co-teaches with Jessica Carlson Belanger for these lessons. It's very well thought out and planned, and they do put things in the Road Town News. So if people are reading the Road Town News, they're already well familiar with what the program is. But I hate to give any more time because I know it's getting late. We have a full house tonight, so but I'm happy to address any concerns that people have.
Not to belabor it either, but I do think that I agree that the emphasizing the choose love is great, but at the end of that, just I think as much as we are going to reach out, as much as we can inform the community, something at the end of that says, if your student is, please reach out to the building. I think that would be a good piece as well, just to kind of to not just be hey, look, we're doing this great thing. But also just to invite people in to make the comments, I think would be a good thing from the school, whether it's in a newsletter or whether it's an aside, but in some way to just kind of say, hey, if your student experiences whatever or feels this way, feel free to reach out to us. We value this. I think that would be good. All right, so moving on. Student superintendent's report. I should say, does anybody else have any other comments on that before we move on? Okay. So superintendent's report. Shannon, go ahead.
So SES joined the MCBA party for students in grades 4 through 6. That was held at Irving Elementary. There were 120 students from across the 4 schools who attended the MCBA party. A huge shout out to our librarians. And I know Heather does a great job. There were also so many staff that have been promoting this. The event was very well attended, and it was a great success. SES took part in School Awareness Week. They had a great presentation from, representation from the community, from staff, from students, and all the press around rural aid is certainly appreciated. Some updates, and you can read them in Union 28 updates. You can read them in the report. CPAC has an upcoming meeting that is open for all parents, not just parents whose children are receiving special education services. There will be a meeting. It's been sort of rotating around the union schools, but there will be a meeting just for Shutesbury parents coming up. They're going to be individual meetings at each school. Joint supervisory was Monday. Updates were provided. An update on the mid-cycle progress of the superintendent's goal was provided. We continue to work on our ADA compliance initiatives across the district, where we are looking at our communication with families being updated and ADA compliant in our website. And that I can empathize with Nate in his capital planning hat of turning over one stone and 3 others fall down. That's sort of how this ADA compliance around communication is going. We turn up one thing, we are looking at newsletters, and 5 other things fall to our plate. So we're working on that. But the most exciting news is a couple of things around some legislative updates. The legislator is continuing some things that they're working on. And I heard I heard the comment, and I feel it about the increased pressure on data and recording student performance and all that. The legislature is adopting a literacy reform legislative act. Key components around that will be required literacy instruction on approved high quality curriculum that is based in the science of reading, help with ongoing curriculum, state supported professional development needs, and literacy screeners. So hopefully we're going to get some funding associated with those mandates that are coming. There is a Western Mass amendment that Joe Comerford has really been championing, that rural schools will receive technical assistance and equitable access to grants, that literacy funds will also be able to use for the now mandated screening tools and implementation efforts. So we're hoping that that comes to pass. That bill still needs to go through the House and Senate reconciliation process, but we are anticipating that those mandates will be coming down. And all the talk around rural aid has gotten a little bit of positive news spin coming. We have been contacted about some possible supplemental funds that will be coming to Shutesbury in the amount of $25,000, which would be used for some curriculum upgrades. It is still not a completely done deal, but there will be a press release coming out about it. So I want you to know that that's coming forward.
I think it just has one more vote. I think they just have to make sure.
Yep, it's not a completely done deal. But also with that, they will be increasing some of the rural aid that was cut back. If you remember, we had about a $4 million cut to our already underfunded rural aid. Rural aid was we need about $60 million in rural aid to be influxed in annually. We had been getting 20. It was cut down from 20. And so there will be some increase in that. And also around special education circuit breaker funds. So Representative Aaron Saunders has been a real champion around that, and specifically around the schools within Union 28, Swift River, and Shutesbury. And so I will update you as that fluid situation becomes more finite, but that is some exciting news that we're hoping will come to fruition. And that's all I got for me.
Great. Any questions for Shannon? All right, seeing none, we're moving on to the Director of Finance and Operations.
Hi, so I have just a couple things. The Shutesbury Elementary budget. So we were able to get some circuit breaker extraordinary relief money this year, which is a huge help. So that is, and sorry, Trevor, I didn't put it in my director's report, but it's $21,743 expected, which will help out with some of our special education expenses. And the rest of, I can project actually, let me see if I can project. Share. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on. Wait, no, I'm good. Maybe. There you go. All right, is everyone able to see our budget right now for the year? Okay, so as I've talked about in previous meetings, the ones in the colorful sort of orangey red are salaries. So those are the salaries in the manual encumbrances for Shutesbury Elementary School. I manually encumber when I can't encumber things through the system. We know, like, for substitute salaries, we will have more substitutes that were going to come in for the rest of the year. And this has been updated for our extraordinary relief from circuit breaker. And these are the Union 28 numbers. And right now we have about $146,000 of unencumbered money left for the rest of the year, which in comparison to past years, to other districts, is looking like a positive number that we won't have to be at the end of the year and figure out how we're going to how to make up a deficit. So I'm pretty optimistic, carefully optimistic that this year with a lot of unknown things is going to end pretty well. The second thing I have on the report is the draft budget, which it has not changed since the last meeting. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting the piece down. And so our budget right now, which has not changed since the last meeting where you had a preliminary vote, remains the same. It is a 6.32% increase. What screen are you seeing right now?
One with the pie chart.
Yeah, it's a pie
Yeah,
chart.
okay, good. Just making sure. Zoom is a little bit this is the only school that I use Zoom for. So 6.32% increase for the town that is including the contract and the special education costs. It hasn't changed since preliminary vote. So if you would like to do a final vote on it tonight, this would be the time. But it's unchanged since the last time we looked at it. Anna?
So yeah, Anna.
Can you remind me what programs with other schools is? I see that there's a pretty big jump from last year, and I just can't remember what it includes.
So that's our special education out of district placement.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay. Nate?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the substitute teacher. Did we raise their pay in February? Did that happen? I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if that went through. I know we voted on that.
Yes, we did. I think we met in January. I think there was a raise to the substitute teacher amount across Union 28.
Yeah.
Is that for the substitute teachers or for teachers who substitute within the school system?
That was a substitute teacher hired as a substitute, but I'd have to look back. There may have been a contractual change to like paraprofessionals that fill in for teachers. I can't remember if the contract changed that we did 2 years ago. So I'd have to look back into that.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Or I move to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Mayu, aye.
Catalano, aye.
Heard aye.
Jack, aye.
Longcoat aye.
Sounds like it's unanimous.
That
Is
is
that the,
great.
is there anything
Oh,
else, Caitlin, that you, yeah.
yeah, just one more thing. So, I'm starting a 10-year improvement plan for capital planning. So we have one for another school in our union. So this is like brand new, and I'm developing a capital planning improvement plan for each of the schools. So I met with our principal Ann today, and custodian Matt, food service director Katrina, technology coordinator Debbie Lee, and I'm going to talk to Lindsay, our curriculum director, also. And I met with Nate today. He talked a little bit about it earlier. But so what we'd like to do is have a 10-year plan that will have, and actually, I think I have that up somewhere. I can probably, there we go. Let me see if I can share that real quick. So this is just kind of the template, and it's brand new. So talking with all of them, because it's really going to take a lot of effort from everybody to be able to have an idea of what our needs are going to be for the next 10 years. So starting with like cafeteria, kitchen, talking to Katrina and Matt about what are the things that we are going to need. So for let's say the dishwasher might be great now. When do you think it's going to need to be replaced? Is it going to be in 2032 or 2033? And so just kind of gauge when we're going to need replacements for those things in the cafeteria and kitchen. Academic programming, we just bought some, we're buying some new curriculum, but when will that have to be replaced? Buildings and grounds. What are the things we're going to need in the future so that we're able to provide to the town and also have an idea ourselves of what are the needs running forward. So we're not just putting a band-aid on things that are breaking right now, but be able to project when things are going to need replacements in the future. Also technology. And then using this, we can sort of spread out what our capital requests are going to be for the next 10 years. I thought 10 years was a good measurement. It's hard, especially with technology, to know what you're going to need in 15 years or 20 years because things change so quickly. But this is our very first, very new effort in trying to get a handle on what requests are going to have from the town moving forward.
This is awesome. This is exactly what capital planning and FinCom have asked for from all the departments in town, and for us to be kind of spearheading that is pretty awesome. So thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you, Nate. Anna?
Pretty
This
awesome.
this is really great. I didn't see sort of like floors in general included in there. I know they were recently replaced, almost all of the school and the kitchen very recently, but it's like it does happen every like what, 10, 20 years.
It depends
So
on the floor. Like
yeah.
give another doc a spreadsheet that has all the floors when they came in, and so we'll be able to update that. Like Caitlin just said, we just worked on this today, so we have another doc that we can use to help feed it. So
Okay, great. And
yeah.
like the roof also
Oh
and
yeah.
siding
Down
stuff.
to the minute.
Yeah.
Both parts of the roof.
Excellent.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
got all that information, so we'll be able to do.
Excellent.
Susie.
And I think because the people in town change so fast, it's good to have the history of what we already have done, that we've been willing and ready and working on it. So I think having the past history recorded or discussed or framed somehow, maybe framed on the wall, it's really an important part of the picture. People think that there's always problems, but there's been a lot of effort and solution.
Yeah, I have this right here. This is the ledger history for variance for the capital plannings from past years. It has the the roof and everything, and it shows that all of this stuff has been under budget. And like every project we've done, we're under budget. So hats off to the school.
Nice job, school. All right. So does anybody have any other questions for Caitlin? Right. So we're moving on to Anne's report, the principal's report.
Well, the best thing about being last is we've already covered a lot of my stuff. So I'm just going to stick to some of the other stuff. Maple syrup. I don't know if you realize that we have a neighbor that lets us tap a tree. And then I'm hoping with the latest weather, we'll be able to do some of the, create some of the sweet treats that they did last year. They do a lot of math around it too and have the kids vote whether they want their syrup on pancakes or waffles. They do candy. They have a whole lot of things we're looking forward to. We just had our spring open houses. Shutesbury Elementary School welcomed our prospective preschool and kindergarten students for the 26-27 school year. We had an amazing time meeting the new recruits, and we look forward to welcoming them. If everyone accepts the placements they've been offered, we will have 19 preschool students and at least 16 kindergarten students. We just did a project collaboratively. I thought it might be interesting to hear what we do with staff. We work closely every day together, but don't always take the time to talk about what the positive attributes we see in each other. So staff members took the time to go through a staff list and talk about positive qualities they see in each other. We did a little presentation and really had a conversation just about how special it is to work in Tewksbury. And we had a little presentation with business card size cards that everyone could see what the positive words that people said were about them. It was really great to come together as a community. And we were hoping to be able to continue that and use some funds that in the past they've used a little bit of money for spirit wear. And they use some school choice money to buy sweatshirts. We were looking at sweatshirts or t-shirts. And part of our school leadership, as Choose Love goes through their lessons, and then at the end, the older students partake in being on leadership teams, and one is a design team, and they've been working on a school motto. So I thought it would be nice if we have that. It's going to have a moose. Everybody relax, put the antlers down. It's going to be okay. It's still a moose, but then we'll be able to celebrate that student artwork with an image on some upcoming things for people to wear. The other part of I was just going to talk a little bit more about the bullying, but I think we have covered that. And I think the risers. We were also looking at, I don't know if you know, but last year when we did our talent show in the school play, we had borrowed risers over from Swift River. And we've really developed our music program this year with some more music literacy, added more band instruments. They have designated band time and also chorus opportunities for students in the upper grades. And we looked at some risers that are formed risers that are very lightweight that students can put into different configurations. They can actually pick them up, but they're not heavy. And they have would have the ability to have all parents, when they come to see the performances, see their students without having to borrow from Swift River. So we're looking at that. We're getting a price on that. They're risers. They're not cheap. They're about $1,000 per unit, and we would need a couple. So we've been looking into that, but I can tell you more about that as we get closer to looking at buying that. That is what I have. If there's any questions.
Have you asked the PTO for help with the
Yeah,
risers?
I did. They're really focusing on funding the fundraisers. They're doing their fundraisers for the field trips. Our buses are really quite expensive. So that's been it's really unbelievable. The experiences the kids go on are so rich, and then the buses are twice as much as entry into any place we go. So we're really focusing on that. But thank you. And this is something that benefits all students too. So
Nate.
Yeah, I know that millionaire's tax is supposed to be for education and transportation. Any way that we can get them to be like, hey, that's our big expense. That's our expense for the out of district placement is transportation costs. Like, what's going on there?
Shannon, want to take that one?
Well, I know that one of the things that the Superintendents Association is really pushing for is that how about an audit of how that money's actually been spent, because we don't really know what's in there. And we don't really know what the breakdown has been about the spending of it. It has not happened yet. I think certainly regional transportation costs, I mean, we can see it in all, not just within our union, across our neighboring communities. Transportation, healthcare, and rising special education costs are just decimating budgets, and it's growing at a rate that is much faster um, than any change in funding or municipal ability to contribute. And I can't see it going down with the rising price of gasoline and all of that. It's just going to get more expensive. I was just quoted for Swift River to go to Mahar, which is a 15-minute ride. The bus is almost $700 for one bus to go there and back. So it's a big systemic problem, right? And that's, their costs. So I mean, it's there's been a lot of push for using that millionaire's tax, the fair share money, and so far not a lot of movement on dipping into that. So I wish I had better news.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, Hammers Pelham representatives report. The other highlight of our night.
Yes, so fun. Okay, so we've recently had a lot of discussion around a policy around restraints and seclusion, and there have been some questions about how and when restraints and seclusion are used and how the reporting is happening. So we've been discussing how to improve our policies so that everything is more clear and that we can ensure that all the schools in the district and in all of the districts are complying with the policies. Um, we had reclarified our ICE policies. Basically, we reclarified. Um, ooh, we've been working. I think the policy committee has been like blowing through like 40 policies just to try to get them all updated. So we've been doing a bunch of that. We had a budget hearing recently. It went pretty smoothly. I think there is a little, Amherst found a little bit of extra money um, due to lower health insurance than expected. So that added this like 0.35% of increase over last year that they could afford. But because of Pelham's dire financial straits, it's not totally clear how that's going to impact the actual district budget. I think we have our final vote coming up pretty soon, hopefully. And it's not totally clear um, if it will pass and at what level it will pass, but hopefully we'll move that to the towns. We're also discussing a slight modification to the regional agreement. Right now, the regional agreement limits rental costs or rental prices to $100 per classroom per year. We don't think this is fair. That price was set in like 1960, and we're hoping to increase the amount that is the region is able to charge outsiders for or anybody to use parts of the school. Currently, the biggest renter is basically Amherst, but and then so this is all coming into play because of the move of the sixth graders to the middle school, and so then Amherst will have to rent the space in the middle school to house the sixth grade academy, the Chestnut Street Academy. And then there's, we have some expiring contracts with like Amherst Rec and some other places. Um, in addition, the regional agreement is pretty out of date. And so we're talking about updating the entire agreement because there's language that refers to Amherst with a select board governance, and now they have a town council, and so they just need to do a lot of sort of like language updating as well as maybe relooking at some of the numbers in the agreement. So some of that, the smaller pieces of language that relate specifically to the ability to rent out space to the Chestnut Street Academy is coming to the towns, hopefully in time for town meeting. So people should be expecting that. And then sort of like this idea of updating the regional agreement is something that should be on the radar for all of the towns. Um, I think those are the big ticket items. Oh, did I tell you that
Was it-
Talib Sadiq is not going to be coming back next year? We are looking to replace the high school principal. And then we're in the process of hiring some assistant principals for the Chestnut Street Academy and doing some shuffling within the elementary schools.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anna. Joint Supervisory Committee report. Let's see. Does anybody else want to start it off and I'll finish it off? No? What would be? Okay, fine. Shannon went over her goals. That was what I remember. This is like one of my first ones in a while that I was able to make. One of the things that I did want to bring up from the joint supervisory meeting was at the very end of it. I think it was one of the representatives from Leverett brought up that somebody from Pelham had reached out to him about the possibility of joining the Union 28 district, and he didn't know anything more about that. And so I kind of just explained what we've been talking about here in Shutesbury, about, kind of just trying to plan and reaching out to them and saying, not us necessarily, but the town managers and FinCom and stuff, talking about like being open to kind of merging their school into ours. But it also just kind of reiterated for me that, there may be some people in Pelham who are still thinking that there's probably maybe some way to keep their elementary school open and maybe wanting to join our district as a school, which, is a whole other can of worms and much more difficult. And I don't know. I have none of the real details, but like, it does not seem like a sustainable option. So just to know that like it seems like, it's hard right now because we know that there's been some people we know that there are people talking, some of them more elected officials or appointed officials, people who are on the FinCom or town managers. But I think there's also, there's a lot of people talking, I guess is what I'm saying. And so just kind of wanted to put that out there because I just found that sort of interesting at the end of the meeting, that was something that, that was a conversation that was happening between some folks, between Pelham and Leverett. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing from the Union 28 meeting, but I think that my biggest takeaways were Shannon's report and that. Does anybody else? Katrina, you were there, right? Or Leah? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other pieces we're just waiting, I think, on communication for the mid-cycle review.
Yes.
That is coming. I don't think we have like a particular timeline on when, but
I
soon.
actually know that Steve reached out to Robin to meet next week as the chair to try to get the paperwork all together. So I'm guessing that you'll get it within the next week or so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So it seems like that's the other piece that we went over, and so we'll be working on that too.
Right. So that will go to the two members of the JSC because they're the voting members. So people who want to give input can still give input. I think they'll share it with everyone. So I'm not even sure who the voting members are from Shutesbury. But you can all get a copy to see what it looks like, and you can give your feedback to your representatives if that makes sense. It's getting late. I'm not sure I'm making sense.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I believe it's me and it's Katrina and I who are the
perfect. Right. But I know I see a lot of people participate and go to that. And so you will give your feedback to the people who vote for Shutesbury or who rate me for Shutesbury. But I'm always open to all the feedback.
And the other piece I forgot, and I think we've all probably heard it, but it's just worth saying, was just the Hampshire Trust update. So the percentage increase being, it was it 12.8? I don't have it down in my notes, but
I think it was 12.7. I mean, I've heard it so many times now. It's amazing that it's not beat into my head. What is it,
yeah.
Caitlin?
12.48.
Oh, we were both. You had the 8 though. Katrina.
Yeah, I only remembered certain digits, sorry. But yes, we
but-
had that update
yeah.
as well.
So, I mean, I think, and I don't know if that factors into what you were saying, Anna, about Amherst as well, but the idea was, there was the 20% last spring, 20% last fall, and then we were all concerned that there was going to be 20% again, and they were so kind to only increase it 12.48, which if you do the addition is still 50-something% in a little over a year. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. CES report. Leah, was there a CES meeting that we have had since we last met?
Yes, we've actually had a couple meetings. We reviewed complaints that came in regarding the person we selected for the executive director position of CES. We are still moving forward with her as the incoming executive director. But we did a lot of the school committee, or excuse me, CES board members actually did a lot of offline research coming into the meeting regarding her evals and like what the context is in Northampton. So a lot of us came in with additional information outside of what was put in the complaint. And we had a chance to ask her questions about what's come up. And we felt like the responses were satisfactory. So a majority of us felt comfortable moving forward with her as the executive director. So she will be starting in July, Dr. Bonner. And we confirmed her contract. So we were able to finalize her contract as well. And we recently learned, I think either in December or January, that the current interim director would like to transition back to her role as, I think she's like a general director for CES. So she's transitioning back to that role. And so we now need to find an interim executive director to hold us over from now through to July when Dr. Bonner will start. So we interviewed 2 candidates last night and have selected one to move forward with. So we are hoping to finalize that and have the person start next week. So moving quickly on that, but it's a prior superintendent with like 40 years of experience leading educational organizations. Other than that, I think those are the key updates for CES.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so moving on to the policy review section of the night, we've got the second read, first vote on homeschooling, special instructional programs and accommodations, so programs for children with special needs, the student services program, compensatory, oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Anna.
No, keep going.
Okay.
After you finish reading, I'll ask my question.
Okay. Compensatory education, homebound instruction, and alternative school programs. Yes, Anna.
So my question is about alternative school programs. So that's why I wanted you to finish. This is, I'm not entirely sure what this policy is supposed to cover. And then where
I don't know
does
if you look
opt
silent
out?
or I can't hear.
You can't hear?
No, I'm sorry. It popped up after it says unstable network connection for me. Sorry.
I was wondering whether the alternative education programs, what exactly that covers, and then where does the opt-out program, like if you opt out of sex ed, is this the alternative education program that, And where does that alternative education program
So that's a
sit?
different policy that would go under instructional and the opt-out piece. There's a piece where you can write, and actually, I think it was a recent policy that we've done. This would be more about students who need uh, their needs aren't being met, and so we may have an alternative program we could develop internally. It could be an out of district. It could be a vocational program. I mean, it's pretty wide in the MASC policy.
So all of these
But
are related to special ed.
it could be related to a need for an individualized program. Yeah, I mean, it could look a lot of different ways, but it's not about opting out of
Okay. Yep.
our current curriculum. That there are policies around that. It's just not this one.
Okay. I move to approve. Oh, wait. Do we just read these or we approve the first
No,
vote
we
to
have
approve?
today's a first vote.
I move to approve the policies listed.
Second.
Does that work, Trevor? All in favor? My UI.
Got a lot of eye.
Heard I.
Jack, I.
Long go by.
Right on. I think we should do it that way forever.
I thought we had to read out the letters.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out too, before we move on from this section, that Shannon has requested, and I think it makes a lot of sense. We haven't done it this way before, but I think it makes a lot of sense that our next policy meeting in April will be our last policy meeting. So we will clear the docket off so that we don't end up having things kind of over summering, because our last meeting, May, will be the reorganization meeting after the town election, and that'll be the final, and then June will be the final votes on whatever's left in the policy queue with whatever our new committee is. So I think that's a really smart way to go about it, and that's the way we'll proceed. Future business. We've got our policy committee meeting April 16th at 6:30. We've got the next school committee meeting at April 16th at 7 o'clock. And Union 28 Joint Supervisory one, that's Monday, May 18th, which will be after our town meeting, I believe. And then does anybody have any future agenda items that they would like to add to next month's agenda that they know of right now?
Do we want to talk?
Sorry.
Do we want to talk about the Viva's? Do we want to address her?
Oh, we can throw that.
If she
we can put that on next.
We could just talk about that a little more.
I think that definitely maybe if we could just, I mean, I think for the committee, it would be useful to just kind of hear maybe a little bit more. I mean, I know we've been talking about it all year, but it would be useful to talk a little bit more about the oversight and data.
So I think
and
that
how we're
the
using
process actually is that and I actually was going to draft a letter. It has to go to a joint labor management. It does not go right to the full committee because it could end up with HR kind of things. So
yeah, well, I was going to say the other part of it being, compensation for, we just finished our contract negotiations last year. So though I hear the desire for supporting educators at equal level to administrators and whatever, that's not something we can really deal with in an off contract year unless there was
So I do have other schools within the union who I meet with the principal, and we have sort of a standing meeting once every month or once every other month with union representatives to just sort of have, but there's a protocol about those kind of concerns, which are all valid and we want to hear them. But coming to the school committee isn't the protocol. The protocol is that we start with a joint labor management and hear their concerns and, how we can address them, if we can address them, and then it proceeds up. So I don't want to bypass that because it could put us, not following the protocol could put us in a precarious position going into negotiations or something like that. So I actually was multitasking and drafting an email to invite them to come meet with Ann and I at some point next week and start that discussion. And then it's like a trickle up kind of thing. And I just want to make sure we're following the right process.
Thank you.
So we'll leave that off the agenda and wait on the culmination of that. Leah, did you have a question? or an agenda item?
Not necessarily an agenda item, just that there's another CES meeting on March 25th. So
Thank you.
I can like send those. I don't know if I should maybe just send them to
Yeah, I don't know. I
Robin.
don't know how those dropped off of our list. I feel like there was a time where those were on, but I also know that our last session last year, I think our CES attendance was not as diligent as you have been this year. So it might be good to kind of get that back into the schedule because I think that might be where it dropped off. All right. Any other items for next month? Okay. Let's hear a movement for adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Seconded, I heard. I was just going to put the two together. All in favor? My UI. See you guys all later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good
Jack.
night.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.